Adetoro and Rashad come from two different backgrounds. After a heated argument, they both find themselves in a situation that forces them to look to the other for safety. Privilege is a new short film by Omo Pastor that directs and sheds lights on the privilege of black men from different sides of the world. Be sure to check it out now on Flower Con. This week on The Wise Guys.
That's the thing, and I've had many instances where, I'm having a conversation and I take something the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I confront that person, they then say, oh, no, this is just a misunderstanding. I think people use that strategically. They get angry and they say something, and then when you respond to it, they're like, oh, what are you talking about? I didn't even mean it like that.
That's very true.
Sometimes they actually meant it like that, but now they're just, thrown off when you confront them about it.
Right.
So it's a two-way street on that. Some people use that strategically, and, it's all manipulation. I mean, some people do use that just to kind of back their way out of it.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Kevin Anglade, and you are now tuning in to the Wise Guys podcast, brought to you by Flowered Concrete. Check it out.
Yo, what's going on? This is your boy, Kevin Anglade.
This is Mark Pruden.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen,
That's right.
with the Wise Guys podcast. Oh, man, Mark, first and foremost, disclaimer to the Wise community out there, everyone listening to this episode. We're recording this episode right now halfway through spring. So by the time this episode airs, officially in June, we'll be 2 months removed from it. And so I'm saying that because obviously we all know what's been occurring, throughout the year of 2020 and what's been hitting us hard, which has been this COVID-19 pandemic. It's been crazy, Mark. How are you holding up in the midst of it all, man? And man, I feel as if life as we know it is being changed forever.
Yeah, seriously, man. I never thought I'd see the day where everyone's walking around with masks and gloves. It's a crazy time.
Yeah.
But doing good. I mean, taking this time to really, appreciate the things in life that we overlook once we're so busy working and in that hustle and bustle.
Agreed.
So just stopping and smelling the roses right now, and just preparing for the opening of the city, pretty much. Yep. How about you?
Same here, man. Just been quarantined, staying inside, haven't really gone anywhere. Unless it's like, going to the market to get some food, whatnot. But believe it or not, man, I'm actually really happy about this because, with my new job and everything, we were supposed to start, I talked about this, about 11 episodes ago, 13 episodes ago. We were supposed to start receiving kids into the program, man, and working with them and whatnot. So imagine what that would have been like just, if the kids had already gotten there and, it's a residency home, so they would live there, obviously. We'd have to be going to work every day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that would be tough to manage.
Yeah.
One kid gets the virus, then everyone's at risk.
Right, or if we get the virus and then we have, you know what I'm saying, and we didn't know. Yeah. So honestly, the shutdown was perfect timing for us because we hadn't even received one kid yet at the time. So it was just perfect in order to, have us to stay home with our families or by ourselves and just kind of quarantine,
Exactly. Yeah, perfect timing for sure. Just with, because I believe you and I both started our new ventures almost at the same time. So
absolutely.
We were locked and loaded, ready to go, and then we kind of got shut down. But like you said, it's a blessing in disguise.
It absolutely is, brother. 100%.
Aside from the people that actually caught the virus and succumbed to their sicknesses, I definitely feel bad about that.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Prayers up to those families.
Yeah, prayers up to those families for sure. New York City, everyone who's been affected by it. I know we talked about, the whole tragic situation that happened back in January with Kobe. So once again, rest in peace to everyone within this country as well as all the countries over the world who lost family members and people and just friends due to the coronavirus. Some people even lost like mothers, fathers, and like siblings and people sequentially, man, just like in order, man. Just such destruction.
Yeah, it's horrible, man. It's really it's a crazy time, unheard of.
Yeah, for sure. But as you know, Wise Community, our podcast is about uplifting, the spirits and the morale of us as millennials, and all the young up and comers, especially Gen Z. I know we don't really give Gen Z a lot of love on this podcast, but you all too, because you all are the light in the future, of what the world will look like to come. So lots of love, lots of light, and lots of praise and blessings to you all. And we're just happy to be back with you all for another week. Because honestly, I think we even take life for granted, man. Like every day's a blessing. So happy to be here.
Yes, exactly, absolutely.
For sure. Mark, episode 24. We're talking about the art of communication today.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. We're talking about the art of communication. Yeah. What were you gonna say? You were like, I don't know if I cut you off.
No, it's just interesting because I have a feeling that it's going to tie into one of our previous conversations
about
psychology and stuff. But we're just gonna we'll wait for it to show itself. I'm ready to go.
Yes. All right, man. So I want to get right into it. So first thing first, I did a lot of research for this episode, and I noticed that when I was doing some research that there are 4 types, believe it or not, 4 types, and there could be more, but from a website I found, there are 4 types of communication, right? And those 4 types of communications are verbal, nonverbal, written, visual. So I'll break them down to you again. So verbal, which is face-to-face, nonverbal, which is body language, tension in the room, right, not speaking, written, right, which is in the form of a letter, a text message, email, or notes, and then visual, such as, video chatting, video conferences such as Zoom, film, or television or PowerPoints, right? So, we got a couple of things going on there. So, with that being said, those are the 4 types of communication. So I want to get right into it and ask you our very first question. Why do we as people struggle with communication? Why do we as people struggle with communication, especially with our family and our friends?
That's an interesting. So what you're saying is, why do we struggle with verbal, face-to-face conversation? Or is that what you're getting at?
Any single one of them? I mean, they all play a part into it. But yeah, I guess you can say verbal. So essentially, I'm asking here, why do we as people struggle with communication, especially with those that are so closest to us? Like if you think about it, you have a friend, right? That he's really bugging you, or you really don't like the way he's let's say treating his girlfriend per se, or maybe you guys are both in business with each other, and then he has another sector of business on the side, and you don't like the way he's treating his clients, and he's losing clients at a rapid pace, and he doesn't know as to why that's happening. So why do we as people sometimes struggle with communication, whether it is talking to someone up front or just looking out for them?
Well, it's a tough thing because a lot of the time, whether you have friendships, business partners, or classmates, you don't want to appear judgmental. You're managing personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know with certain people, we have to act a certain way just to keep everything in line and keep everybody happy.
Right.
So I think that's actually what it is. You're trying to keep everyone happy,
mm-hmm,
because we all know speaking the truth makes people unhappy sometimes. So I think it's really a matter of people just managing their personnel and knowing what they can say and what they can't say to prevent an argument or a fight.
Very true.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
What do you think about that one?
Oh, good question. Honestly, I think a lot of it too is I don't want to say it's inherited, but it's passed down, man. You think about your family, you think about your mom or your dad, and you think about the way, you do something wrong, and then your dad beats you or your mom beats you for it, and then next thing you know, they don't really actually have a sit down with you and explain to you as to why they did why you might have done what you done, but they popped you for it. Or let's say, I don't know, your parent does something wrong and they never apologize to you. Now that leaves a form of something being unresolved. You know what I'm saying? It leaves something being unfinished and not concluded. So now you're kind of at this point where now you take that moving forward into a friendship or a business relationship or a intimate relationship, and you don't know how to deal with confrontation, so you just run from it, I feel like.
Yeah, that's a great angle, actually. I took it a total different direction. I like where you brought that, because it's tough. I think it almost kind of blends with mine, because it's you are kind of managing personalities.
Yeah.
Like, let's say your parent was, wrong about something, and you're like, hey, why aren't they, accepting this and explaining that they did something wrong? But
right.
It's just a part of knowing that person. Like, I know this person is not going to accept when they're wrong. I know this person is not going to admit and apologize.
Right.
So we just learn that, okay, this is just the way it is, instead of trying to help them change.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that. It's interesting too, man, when you think about the art of communication, right? Because you could apply this back to any of our prior episodes, like the art of friendship or going ghost. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And or even the art of hate. And that's why I kind of like, if you notice, kept these arts like the series of the art together, because like I feel as if like they're connected. There's really an art to them. When I talked about going ghost, about the friendship, whatever whatnot, with the guy, whatever whatnot, it's so interesting because remember I talked to you about it, like somebody who I grew to have a good solid friendship with him, and then I thought we were really close, and then after a while, like, he just started doing his own thing, and I felt some type of way, right? It's interesting because I'm just now telling you this, because we didn't talk about this prior. He actually called me about 2 weeks ago, as if nothing happened, like, hey Kev, what's up? But this time I was more ready for it. I was like, I think I told you this on the podcast before. I see it as an acquaintanceship now. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is someone who's just an acquaintance. Like, at the end of the day, it's not that they can't be a friend or they can't be friend-like, but we are in two totally different sectors of our lives right now. We're doing two totally, completely different things. And then whenever that person wants to reach out and talk to me from time to time, whether it's 6 months, 9 months, or a year, that's okay. That's just his preference. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, when he called me about a week or 2 weeks ago, whatever the case was, he didn't call me with any hate or any type of, like, disregard for me or any type of contempt. It was literally just like, hey Kev, what's up? Like, it was a genuine checkup to see how I was doing and to kind of like vent. And then I just realized, but like, I was saying to myself, like, okay, you guys are cool, whatever, whatnot. But at the end of the day, like, don't make it become all about you in terms of like you needing this person to sustain yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, that's the interesting thing, because you said he's an acquaintance, but in his mind, you may be one of his greatest friends.
Right.
But it's just that we set our priorities, and for a lot of young people, they went to college, they got these student loans. Now is the time. Now is grind time. I'm trying to find this, niche in my career by any means necessary. I don't really have much time for the kumbaya and let me call this person up and that person up. It's all about success, because it really is a matter of survival. Everyone's trying to survive.
Right.
So you still may be considered a great friend, but it's just that in his list of priorities, he's trying to eat.
Yeah.
He's trying to build this great vision. So you really never know what's in someone's mind. But the fact that he gave you that call, man, that shows a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it does actually.
Acquaintances don't call each other.
That's very true. No, I think so too. I agree. Honestly, I kind of hesitated to pick up, not because I was trying to be a hater or anything. I actually, believe it or not, I actually wondered if he was calling to scold me, because like recently, people have been reaching out, and I've been kind of getting paranoid that, they wanted to like air out their grievances with me because of what they heard on the podcast. So I'm going to be very careful of what I talk about moving forward. But yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. So let's see here. I want to move into our second question. Oh, also, Wise Community, the name of the segment is called Communication as We Know It. Excuse me. Communication as We Know It. You have to excuse us. We're a little bit rusty. COVID-19 kind of took us out for a bit. So this next question I wanted to ask you here is it easier for us to communicate in the lines of business and the workplace as opposed to speaking to like our loved ones or our best friends or people that we know, like, unbusiness related and whatnot?
I think so. I think it is much easier, because you're not playing two different roles. Because with a friend, you're a friend.
Mm-hmm.
You may be also a consultant. You may be also an advisor. You may also be a psychologist. But when it comes to a business partner, I'm your business partner and nothing else.
Right.
So I'm not here to make you feel better. I'm here to tell you what I need, and then I'm going home.
Right.
I'm not going to come back in 10 minutes to make sure that lecture or that conversation didn't hurt your feelings. And I think if you're managing people, you should, you should try to manage personalities and be kind to people that work for you or people that work with you.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people, they don't really always consider emotions when it comes to business. It's just like, this is what I need, this is what we need to do, see you later. So
right.
in that sense, it's only one dimensional. It's just like they're only going at it from one angle and not from an angle of, compassion and love and care. So
yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with it. Yep.
Yeah, I hear that. I don't know. I don't know. When I think about myself, I usually find it. I think it kind of works both ways. I feel as if I found it easier at times to communicate with people that I work with, but then also too I find it easier at times to work with or communicate with my own family or friends. I feel as if it goes back to what you said. You said something very sharp earlier. You said I don't want to say massaging egos, but managing personalities. I think it was is that what you said. And I feel as if that's really what it is at its core. For example, I know my sister. Oh, God forbid, I hope she doesn't kill me for saying this, but I know my sister. She has a temperament, right? She has a certain type of temper that is different from mine. Whereas more so, where I'm more so chill and lax, whatever, whatnot. She's chill and lax too. But then I notice that when we get into an argument and we flare up, she might start yelling, and to the point where it's just I might want to yell too, but then I'm all right, let me just chill out and calm down. So it's I feel as if sometimes tone has to be considered, as well as the timing, when you address people, how you address people, and because I know if I don't, come at her in a way where she seems to be correct and very calm, it might rub her the wrong way, to the point where we might not talk for a bit. You know what I'm saying? And that happens, from time to time, few and far in between actually, but it can happen and has happened. So I don't know. I try to take all of those things into consideration when I think about people that I'm coming into contact with. But everybody's very different, man. Even sometimes people who you work with, they won't talk to you directly about what it is that they're going through or what issue or beef that they have with you, but then they'll go around telling everybody and their mama, knowing that's going to come back to you.
That's true. I mean, well, that's different because there's a totem pole in the workplace. I mean, it's the employees that may work in the same department or sector, and then there's the boss. I mean, the employees can relate a lot more to each other than they can the manager. So, they're not going to really express those grievances with the manager. Sometimes they'll just speak amongst each other. But in your case, I get what you're saying. It's just people don't like confrontation. It's even if you guys are all at the same level, I'm not going to say that to his face because I don't want to deal with the repercussions, but I'm going to tell other people so I can let it out.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. Some people are, able to directly approach you about things, but most of the time people will speak amongst themselves.
Very true. Very true indeed. It's crazy. Okay, so we talked about verbal face-to-face. Let's see, we have nonverbal, which is body language, tension in the room, not speaking. Nonverbal is interesting because you think about body language, tension in the room, not speaking. How many times, Mark, and whether it's been in your life, in terms of your home life at home, or whether it's been at any of the jobs you've worked at prior, how many times have you've seen people, whether man or woman, come into a room, whether they're not speaking to you, or what they did, or they know what you did, or what they did to some other people, and then you could just cut the tension in the air with a knife, you could feel it. You know what I'm saying? And everyone is just feeling the tension, and it feels as if something's about to pop. You know what I'm saying? And it's just interesting when you think about nonverbal cues and how nonverbal is something that we all should look for, even in business too. A lot of business savvy guys, and women too, when it comes to entrepreneurship or cutting business deals, a lot of times people would say I think Gary Vee says it he looks for body language in a deal or looks in a body language in a pitch, and if the body language seems deceptive or uncertain, he won't cut the deal. He'll be I don't know about this person. They might be moving too funny, or I don't feel as if they're confident in the product that they're selling me. So you know what, I'm actually going to pass on this. And then couple months down, he realized maybe he was right. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting.
It's true. I could definitely agree with that. I mean, we can take it back to a different level where your significant other, they're going to come in the room. They're going to say, hey, let's say they just walk in. and you can tell something's wrong. And then you say, hey, what's wrong? And they say nothing. It's like, I can obviously see something is wrong.
Right.
You know, you saying nothing doesn't help it because I can tell something is horribly wrong. So
Yeah.
it's like that body language that you can sense. But even though you try to acknowledge it, the person still says nothing's wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you really can't win in that situation. I mean, of course, you know, talking about it and you can get into it down the line, but I just don't know. It's like I don't know why certain people, you know, they'll and I've spoken to my girlfriend about this many times, just breaking down the psychology of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like someone can be upset, but they just don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like they can't prevent themselves from showing they're upset.
Right.
But they still don't want to talk about it, and that can create a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
It's a tricky thing. But in business, I think it's an excellent tool because, like Gary Vee said, I mean, you can tell almost, you know, what someone's sentiment is, you know, towards certain things. If let's say they're trying to sell, you know, an asset like a car, and they're just in such a rush to sell. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, why is this person so adamant about selling? Why are they so aggressive in just trying to get this asset off of their balance sheet? Could be something wrong with it. You know, this indirect conversation. It's like, I don't know. You can I guess Gary Vee said it better than I could, but you can definitely tell a lot with those nonverbal cues.
Without a
based
doubt.
off of for sure.
No, I think you're on the money though. I definitely think you're on the money with that too. It's just that, you know, he just probably said it in a way that seemed more clear, you know. But I think you got it though. What about written? Written, whether it's the form of a letter, text message, email, notes. Written is actually pretty interesting because oftentimes people misconstrue what people would say over a text message or over a letter or through a note. Like, for example, I know, you know, I'm not going to go into the situation, but I know a couple months back we were having a conversation either through DM or through text, and you said something that I misconstrued and took the wrong way. But looking back at it now, and we passed it up, but like looking back at it now, had I seen you said it to me in person, I would have understood the context in which you were saying it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I probably would have, you know, continued our back and forth banter in which we were laughing at the situation overall. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then eventually it led to something totally different on my end because since I'm reading it through a text message, I'm imagining you saying it a different type of way. So then I'm like, oh, like he's not kidding right now. He's serious. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly. That's the thing. And I've had many instances where, you know, I'm having a conversation and I take something the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I confront that person, they then say, oh, no, this is just a misunderstanding. I think people use that strategically. They get angry and they say something, and then when you respond to it, they're like, oh, what are you talking about? I didn't even mean it like that.
That's very true.
Sometimes they actually meant it like that, but now they're just, you know, thrown off when you confront them about it.
Right.
So it's a two-way street on that. Some people use that strategically, and, you know, it's all manipulation. I mean, some people do use that just to kind of back their way out of what they said.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, like you just brought up, we definitely have had instances where, you know, we've said something and both of us have gotten it, you know, backwards. But it's not our fault because if you're in the heat of the moment and you're having a conversation, sometimes you read that text in your mind the way you want to read it.
Right.
It's like you don't know my tone, you don't know my voice, but when you're in the heat of that moment, you're gonna read it in the way that pumps you up the most.
Without a doubt.
So sometimes our mind plays tricks on us, but sometimes the texter is playing tricks on us too.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about it that way. That's pretty good.
Yeah, man, because I mean, even I've done it. You know, I said something I shouldn't have said, then I'm like, oh man, maybe it was, you know, maybe I shouldn't have said it. Maybe I should have typed it like that.
Right.
You know, let's say you're in a negotiation, you're in a conversation, and it's like, let's say you're buying a car, and it's like, well, the car doesn't look that great anyway, you know, and it's like, some people could take that offensive, but oh no, sir, I meant to say, the car doesn't look that great anyway. I'm still gonna take it. You know,
right. Yeah.
You can twist it depending on how the person reacts, I think.
Oh,
and
man.
I think that's when it becomes manipulation, and I don't agree with that, man. Because I'm sure it's been done to me millions of times.
Oh wow! You know what? I'm gonna actually write a memo or note to self. This might have to be an episode down the line in a future season, the art of manipulation or something like that, man.
Oh my gosh, it's true. It's true.
That's pretty.
I mean, we're all manipulators, you know.
That's true. That is very true. I mean,
Yeah,
I've done it too. I mean, we've all done it. Especially like, you know, and you know, even if the older you grow and you know you're not that kind of a person, you don't look for attention, and you're less of that and more like more so like just a natural, you know, relaxed kind of person. As kids, we always do it. Think about how many times we've cried to our parents to get whatever we wanted, or to make them feel as if they're the worst parent in the world because we didn't receive something. So at some point in life, everyone manipulates or has manipulated for sure.
It's crazy. Yeah, you're right. And people tend to think, you know, when someone's called a manipulator, it's just like, oh my gosh, you're such a horrible person. But like you said, everybody does it.
That's true.
It's just the person who does it on a large scale gets a lot of the flack and slander. But you're right. Everybody does it.
And written and I want to bring this up before we move on. Written communication is very interesting, you know, as one of the 4 types of communication. Again, wise community, we have 4 types. So we have verbal, nonverbal, written, and visual. And we'll get to visual in a second. But written is pretty interesting, Mark, because think about how many times, you know, you or myself or anyone that we know for that matter might have gotten mad at that person, you know, within a text or over an email, and you're writing just a terrible lacing of an email to your coworker about how egregious and how terrible he or she is, and then you're like, think about this for a second. If you send this, what will happen? What kind of backlash will you receive? And then you delete it, and then you change up and you alter it. You essentially manipulate your message to sound as chill. I mean, I'll be honest, I feel as if white people do this the best, man. They have a great way of typing up a message, especially over email at the workplace, in a way of saying, you done fucked up, without actually saying it. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting when you think about it, like, because written is one of the few forms of communication where you might say something and then totally, it's like revisionist history. You can totally switch it up to sound a different way, whether you mean it that way or not. So that's pretty good. And then last but not least, visual, which is video chatting, conferences, film, PowerPoints. I'll tell you one thing, man. With visual and this whole COVID-19 crisis and staying at home and being on Zoom, you know, with my colleagues and, you know, my boss and everyone whatnot. And, you know, this goes for everyone who has to hop on a Zoom and do conference calls. I know, like, with my job, you know, my boss and my supervisor, they've been getting really upset with us to the point where they mandated that once we hop on a Zoom call, we have to show our screens so that way they can record and see exactly what we're doing and see that we're being responsive. Because a lot of people, they're hopping on these Zoom calls, and then they're allowing their audio to play and they're responding, whatever, whatnot. But yo, like, some people might be playing video games, some people might be cooking, might not be fully dressed. Like, you don't know what's going on. It's interesting when you think about that as a form of communication, huh?
It's very true. I mean, like you say, you never know when you have someone's full attention. I mean, I was never a fan of, like, the video calls and, you know, FaceTimes and stuff like that. Mainly because I'm a non-social person. I'm the type of guy who would rather text.
Right.
You know, I do most of my business through text and DM, so it's just like, it's so great for me to not have my phone ringing.
Right.
But it's true, man. It's really tough. But that may also be like almost like an invasion of privacy. You know, when it comes to these video platforms, it's like, I want to see what you're doing. I want to have so much control over, you know, your output.
Yeah. And it's interesting, too, because some people might take it a certain type of way. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. But, for example, you know, a while back, you know, when I was in session as, you know, professor at Goodwin, and I was, you know, instructing my class, which, you know, we had a great on-ground class. You know, in class, everyone was participating. They were talking. They seemed to really be enjoying the class, from what they've told me. You know, and majority of the class was women, right? It was like predominantly, like, I guess, like 16 or 17 women and like 2-3 guys, right? And then when we transferred and moved online because of COVID-19, you know, it was obviously the same. But then some people stopped coming to class because they said that switching online was very, you know, anxiety inducing for them, or they had other things that they had to do. Or what I saw happening a lot, well, not a lot, it happened every single time, every single week until the semester ended, I was the only one showing himself on video. Like, no one else showed themselves on video. So for the first week, I felt kind of offended. I was like, why should I tell them to turn on their cameras and I need to see them? And then, after talking to, Danielle about it and just kind of thinking about it, and I was just like, well, maybe it's an invasion of privacy. Maybe their home looks a certain way that is not presentable to be on screen. Maybe they don't like the way they look within their surroundings. Maybe their surrounding is inappropriate. You don't know what they had to do to get on video, you know what I'm saying, in terms of, like, maybe they have to go to a friend's house or, whatever the situation may call for. So it's like, who are you to tell them, hey, turn on your screens, I want to see you, you know what I'm saying? So I thought about it, and I said, wow, maybe that in a way is invasive. Like, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, definitely. I mean, whenever, you hit someone up and say, hey, can you come with me here? They're going to say, hey, I need about 30, 45 minutes to get ready.
Right.
So if I'm at home on a computer screen, doing a Zoom with my professor, I'm not getting ready for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like you're at home. You're not going to get dressed to sit on your bed or at your desk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think most of them are probably, they could be in their pajamas. Hair's not done, no makeup. A lot of people don't like to, go outside without their makeup or doing their hair or, whatever. So I really think it could be, an invasion of privacy or just kind of, it'll make them just have to prepare for something they should have to do. You know what I mean? Like, they're at home. It's a home, they shouldn't have to put on makeup and curl their hair just for, class at home.
Yeah.
So I can agree with that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yep, so that's the 4 types of communication right there. All right, last question for today's episode. Looking ahead, how can we improve and transform lines of communication as a society in the form of consistency? So I'll read the question again. So looking ahead, in a consistent manner or fashion, how can we improve and transform the lines of communication as a society, especially now, the fact that our whole lives have been changed with COVID-19?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because a lot of it stems back to honesty. Because most of the communication errors that we have, like in text messages, someone may misconstrue the message. They may have read it wrong, or the person may have intended to say something, and when they're confronted, they deny it. Yeah. So I really don't think it can be improved because a lot of these issues stem inside the person themselves.
That's true.
Like, for me, I'm very non-social. I mean, I seem like a social guy, but I'm not very social.
Mm-hmm.
So I would rather text message. So just a few minutes ago, someone FaceTimed me. It's just like, why'd you do that? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, I feel like that's an invasion of privacy. If you're just going to randomly, I'm just going to video chat this person. Like, maybe I'm not ready for a video chat. So I think it depends on the personality of the person. I mean, some people just don't like certain things. Some people would rather, or they'll feel more comfortable not using their voice or using their video, or just want to, send a quick message. So I really don't think it needs to be improved. I really just think that we just need to kind of adjust our personalities for it. Like, if you have a job that requires Zoom, you just have to kind of bend your personality a bit to kind of make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about the person, I think. I don't think it's the communication strategies themselves, really. What do you think about that?
That's pretty interesting. It's I think it's a mixed bag of those things, honestly, right? For example, how do I say this? I guess me and you are opposites. I'm a very social person, I would say, to a certain extent, right? Like, I like meeting people, I like talking to people, I like, picking people's brains and going back and forth and having exchange with them, right? But at the same time, when I kind of want to do my own thing, I kind of want to be in my zone doing my thing. So, like, for example, my sister, if she, sends me a FaceTime chat on Instagram, I'll respond because, that's my sister, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's known me, like, my whole entire life, so it doesn't matter if I look a certain type of way or whatever the case may be. Like, that's my sister at the end of the day. But then my cousin, true story, who happens to live in Florida, I think about a month and a half ago, he, FaceTimed me to have a conversation on video call. And so the first time he did that, I was like, why is he doing this? I don't want to talk to him. I haven't spoken to this guy in years. Now all of a sudden he just randomly hits me out the blue with a video chat. Like, that's kind of weird, And then so he did it again. I said, whatever. Sure, why not? So then I responded. And then, mind you, when I responded, I couldn't even see his video. So he blocked his video from showing, and he just wanted to see how I looked. And I was like, what the hell? And then he's just going back and forth with me like, yo, man, you got so big, man. I'm like, excuse my language, but I'm like, nigga, I'm an adult. What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? It's like, of course I'm big. I'm a grown ass man. You know? And then, like, we talked for like 30 seconds, and then after that, you know, he hangs up, whatnot. And then I'm like, oh man, I don't know what's going on, but you know, I wasn't able to see you on video. He's like, yeah, no worries. When I get home, we'll video chat. I was like, all right, cool, no worries. Mind you, I wasn't sweating it. I wasn't pressed to video chat with him anyway. But then he never hit me back up, and I was just like, what? I was like, did he just Jedi mind trick me? Did he just want to see how I looked or something like that?
I don't know. It could be. I don't know. But that's the thing, man. It's just, I guess some people just aren't comfortable with the video.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's definitely.
But you can't ask someone else to do it.
Right. I feel as if it goes both ways. Like, yo, don't hit me up to video chat, and then all of a sudden now, like, you don't want to chat. Like, I mean, you know. And the first time around, I was like, whatever. Second time around, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna ignore it. And then I felt insulted. I was like, you invaded my privacy.
Right. Yeah, that's funny, man.
It's just weird, man. And now my sister will just video chat me. She won't even call me on the phone anymore. It's like, I'd rather just a phone call, you know. But
yeah, I think, like you said, I think it's different when it's like close family members.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, they've seen me at my worst, they've seen me at my best.
Right.
So, you know, it's fine.
It's fine, yeah. Not too pressed or stressed about that. Yeah, man. That's pretty much good. Pretty much it. Sorry. We pretty much covered all the topics for this episode. Anything else you might want to add before we move on to Word to the Wise?
No, I think we pretty much tackled it. Covered all angles there.
Excellent. All right, man. So I guess I'll start off. I know it's been a while for us. Man, it's been a good solid 2 months since we last recorded. But I guess I'll start off. My word to the wise today in regards to the art of communication is awareness. And what I mean by that is, you know, I think oftentimes as people we can kind of get in our own way when it comes to communicating.
Right.
With each other. Like, I know, like, you know, in my own personal relationships, whether it's with, like, you know, my girlfriend or my family, you know, people will let me know, like, you know, you're sometimes too inaccessible. Like, you know, you don't say how you feel, you know, like, you know, you kind of get closed off and you don't really express your feelings. And then when you do finally let it out, it's like you have all these things going on that we were not aware of, you know. And that's a word that I often hear when talking to people is awareness. Like, you know, they often say, like, you know, I might be treating them a certain type of way, or I might not be explaining or articulating how I feel because, you know, I might not be aware that I have those feelings in that exact moment. So that's my word to the wise today. Just be aware of everything going on around you. Be aware of people that are, you know, attempting to enter your space, you know, both for the good and for the bad. And, you know, keep that, you know, keep that mind frame and just the understanding that, you know, you need to be aware of good communication, bad communication, how to, you know, welcome good communication and to bolster it, and as well as how to avoid bad communication and how to, like, keep that boundary set, you know, so that way, you know, you're living your life accordingly to how you want to live it and consistently. So awareness, that's my word to the wise today.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure. I think for me, I'm going to say analyze, but it would be more towards, you know, managers and business owners, you know, entrepreneurs.
Okay, yeah.
More, you know, analyze your personnel, because I feel like most managers, they like to approach managing their business or their job with this cookie cutter mold, like, I'm going to treat everybody the same way and I want the same productivity from everybody.
Right.
But if you were to analyze your employees and find out how they communicate, it would better assist you in creating a very smooth work environment.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to ask certain people to do certain things that conflicts with their personality, you're going to have an issue. And you're going to, you know, you may say, you know, Mark's such a lazy guy. He never wants to do this. Maybe you're not using that person effectively. Plug them into a different place to make them successful.
True.
You've got to really, you know, use every chess piece is different.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to use them in the way that they're most effective.
Right.
And I think a lot of managers, you know, business owners might be playing just checkers and just every piece is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is chess, and you have to know what every piece does in chess to make the game works. So I think that's going to be it. Just analyze.
Absolutely. Oh man, that's excellent, right there, man. Beautiful.
Oh, appreciate that.
For sure, man. Man, Wise community, we hope you got a lot of gems today. We hope that you all are ready to sadly, a little tear here, but trek down the lines of our final episode next week, which is episode 25, man. Our final episode of this first season of the Wise Guys, man. We made it.
Wow. Yeah, we made it, man.
Yeah, man.
We appreciate all the listeners.
Absolutely.
It's a great outlet to just speak, and I know, Kevin, you're always talking about the way you love how the audience engages on Instagram and these different pages, just going back and forth, just having the community getting involved, and I think they're going to be pleased with the new ideas that you have in store. So, get ready, everybody. He's got some ideas going. You know what I mean?
Man.
So it's going to be beautiful.
It definitely is, man. It definitely is. And don't let Mark, sell himself short, man. He's definitely, a huge key component behind some of these ideas as well. But, we still got another episode left, so we're not going to say goodbye just yet for the summer. We got one more left, so tune in for that. Next week's episode 25, is called For the Gram, all right? So it's going to be a really, really good one, and we're actually going to be picking up from our first ever episode and first conversation, which was The Graham's Illusion. So it's actually a sequel to it. It's going to be really, really good. But before we head out of here, I just want to say that the Wise Guys podcast is available on all streaming platforms right now. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Breaker, Radio Public, YouTube, wherever podcasts can be found except SoundCloud. I've already told Mark my goal is to try to get us on there for season 2, so stay tuned in that regards. And then other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else left to add. Oh yeah, please, if you haven't already, especially on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review for the Wise Guys, please. If you haven't, we would love if you could, leave a review, rate us, and as well as review the show. What have you thought about it? What do you think about it? And also, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, Facebook, and Instagram, Twitter, all throughout. And if you're listening to the Wise Guys at this point in June, all right, we're recording a bit earlier, but if you're listening in June, our Wise Guys handle on Instagram has changed. And I know Mark isn't aware of this. I'm going to let him know right now, too. Our Wise Guys Instagram has changed slightly. It's not just at Wise Guys NYC anymore. It's at The Wise Guys NYC, because it's already The Wise Guys NYC on Facebook and Twitter. So I wanted to make it consistent all across the board. All right, so if you're looking for us, we're at The Wise Guys NYC. And that's pretty much it. So we thank you, we appreciate you, and we'll see you back for another week, all right? So, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, this is your boy, Kevin Anglade.
And this is Mark Pruden.
And you have been tuning into the Wise Guys podcast. We'll see you all next week.
Stay healthy, stay safe, and stay wise.
Peace.